Live from Michigan City, Indiana, it's Long Arm TV Live with Jamie Wallen.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Quilters Apothecary. On today's live broadcast...
Live from Michigan City, Indiana, it's Long Arm TV Live with Jamie Wallen.
Live, that's the key word, live. Boy, and you never make mistakes though, so he's pretty awesome about that normally. So again, welcome to Quilters Apothecary. Today, I'm actually going to be doing a cornerstone, but before we start, I do want to say a few things. If you're watching this live, you are watching this live, and I'm assuming that my verbiage is synced and everything's good. What happens after the live broadcast is Rich takes it down, and he takes a few hours, and he cleans it up, and then re-uploads it for people to watch later when they're not watching the live broadcast. That way my mouth movements are synced with everything else, and he cleans it up and adds some music and turns it into a wonderful episode the way that he does his magic. So just so you know, that's kind of how we do that. So again, welcome. I hope everybody's doing good on this Saturday morning, and if you're watching it later, then it's not Saturday morning. But right now it's Saturday morning for us. So again, let's get going here. And Mr. Ritchie, I'm going to have you adjust the camera a wee bit here so that we can see what we're going to be doing here. So I am working on this amazing dahlia quilt, and throughout the next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do different designs in the dahlia petals, and we'll go over that later this week or by the weekend, next weekend. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to be working on this cornerstone. So here's kind of where we're heading. I've created this cornerstone design for this quilt using the lotus feather and a little bit of curved ruler work to go in. And so that's what we're going to be dropping in here, just so we have a nice cornerstone. I want something fairly simple for this particular quilt. She does not want flashy thread. I wanted to go with metallic. She did not want to go with metallic. So she wants to kind of match, so that way we're going to be doing texture. It has double batting in it, so it actually has a 80-20 and it has a wool. So those are the two battings that are in this quilt. So she's going to get that wonderful texture. What I've done here, since this is the focal point that we're working on right now, is I've gone in 1/2 of an inch and I framed the inside of the body portion of this quilt next to the dahlia. And then what I did is I went, and I'm not quite sure what my measurement was. Let me see. I think it was, yeah, it was about 1 3/4 here. Because what's going to happen is this 1 3/4 is going to bleed into the rest where I put my filler. So there will be the filler, which will be out here. And then of course there will be the double line. I didn't just want to drop in a curved triangle and put in a lotus because it would disappear in all the work. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of negative space so that the design would pop out in the corner. So let's get started on this design. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead, drop in my curved ruler. Now I'm using the giant Curve 1, and I'm going to line that up. I already have everything pre-marked, and let me talk about my marks real quick. Again, I went in 1 3/4 from this line. I marked in my blue marks be gone, and then I'm going to take that out with the blue line erase. And I went in 1 3/4. I did my cornerstone. It did not match up perfectly with her miter, just because her miter to square up her quilt was just a little bit off. So I'm going to be true to the corner of the design itself rather than the miter line. And then what I did is I went in another 1/2 of an inch. And I drew a miter line down here. So I have 1 3/4 line for a corner, and then a 1/2 inch in, up in echo. And then what I did was I located the miter to be perfect from this corner down right through here, and I used this these two corner lines right there to make sure that I had that perfect miter going down. And then what I did is I used my curve to create these two little registration points, because I knew that with that size, using this giant curve, when I go up here, it will actually hit on the outside. So when I quilt this, as you're going to see shortly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock my stitches here. We're going to come up, lock, come across with my straight ditch, down, stop, and then I'm going to follow this line back up. I'm going to lock my stitches and drag, and then lock on here, and then repeat that process right up here. So I'll slide in, lock my stitches, and that's going to give me that wonderful echo where I can put in, again, my cornerstone with my design in it. So let me line this up, get this where it needs to be. I'm going to go right up to about a 1/4 inch away from this particular line. And again, I'm keeping the middle of my curve right on that miter line that I've created. I want to make sure that that's straight so that visually it works. So I'm going to go up just a little bit. I'm going to keep it so it's about a 1/4 inch away, because of course I need to make sure to hit that outer line. And on this machine, and I am using our Handy Quilter Forte, on this particular machine we have a 1/4 inch hopping foot. So I want to take that into account. And let me flip this handlebar up so you get a better visual. Sorry for my arms there. And then, Mr. Ritchie, if you need to do any in and out with this, you can do that. And I'm going to reline that up. I've attached a little bit of adhesive to the back of my ruler so that way it's going to hold true. And now I'm going to go up here, do my single stitch, pull up my bobbin thread, come up, lock my stitches like that. Okay, make sure that everything is lined up there. And now I'm going to come right over to the ruler, and I'm going to start to follow my curve, keeping that in place. Now if I were using something like a gold metallic, I would probably do 1, 2, 3, meaning something like this. 1, 2, and 3 to kind of thicken and bolden that line, because I want it to pop a bit. But since I'm using a matching color and I have the double bat, I don't have to worry about that. It's going to line right up. Okay, we're going to take that right over there. But just to kind of give you that example again, I have a little bit of adhesive on the back of this ruler, so everything is holding in place when I make that thicker line. I'm going to come down, and now I'm going to pause there. I'm going to move my curve away so I have that curve, and now I'm going to grab my ditch ruler, and this is actually not our traditional ditch ruler. This is our new ditch ruler, which has the tabs so that I can go a 1/4 inch and put that right on that registration line, and that's going to give me a nice straight ditch as I work my way back. Now because I'm working my way from right to left on the freehand side of the machine, I'm taking my time, because of course that is a rough movement for any long arm machine to be traveling. But if you take your time and your machine is timed properly, you should have no trouble. So now I have done that line, and now I'm going to come down this side. So I'm going to line this up, and let me see, I'll show you there what's going on there. Rich, do you need to come behind me a little bit? Get a little closer. Can you see that okay? Get my big head out of the way. No? There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of crouch a little bit. I'm going to come down, follow that line, stop, slide my ruler, and again, You need to stop your machine when you get to the edge of the ruler, when you get to the end of your spot. There's nothing wrong with that. No quilt police are going to come and take your machine. So now I've connected. I'm going to come back up on that ditch a little further than I think I might need to, and now I'm simply going to come back with my curved ruler. I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to drag. Now I make sure that my center line here is lined up right on that blue mark that I've put near my martyr. So I'm going to line that up, get that right in place, and now there we go. And now with the adhesive, everything is going to stay in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, do my needle up, and then I'm going to slide over. I'm going to go to my straight line, and now I'm simply going to lock my stitches there. And normally what I like to do is I'll take 4 or 5 stitches forward and 4 or 5 stitches back, but I'll do it in the space of 2 stitches. That way everything's locked. And whenever I drag thread, what I want to make sure is that when I drag and I don't cut first to and then relock on, what I like to do is drag but never go any further than where you're going to stop and drop your needle, because otherwise you're going to end up with excess thread underneath and you're going to end up with a knot. But if you just bring it right to where you need to go, that thread is going to stay taut, and then when you lock your stitches you're not going to get that knot when you do your dragging. And frankly, I would never drag anything more than about maybe 2 inches at the max, and that can be a little bit of pushing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, come this way, come up, and again I'm going to go ahead and pop that. So I'm going to come down, go back up, so that's my 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to come down the other way. 1, 2, 3, go up there. Okay, and now I'm going to pull this away. I'm going to grab my ditch ruler again, and I'm going to slide right over here. And Mr. Ritchie, did you need to come closer? How are they doing? Can I get a good visual with that, or do you need to slide up a little bit closer? That's nice. I like that. Okay, so we've got that, and now I'm going to line that right up. And again, I make sure that my line here on those 2 tabs are right on the line. Whatever ditch ruler you choose to use is what you choose to use. And I'm going to come over. And I might go ahead and thicken that a little bit, because that's where we're going to drop in that lotus. And it tends to like a little bit of a more bold line when I'm doing that lotus, which you'll see in just a minute. I'm going to slide. I'm going to go over to the corner. 2, 3, stop. And I'm going to turn this way just so you can see a little better. That's not normally the way I go. I normally have it on this side, but for now, for the camera, I'm going to go and do this. So we're going to come down, 2, 3, down, 2, overlap a little bit, 3, and now I'm going to slide my ruler, and I'm going to come down, 2, and I connected with that second one, 3. Now I'm going to lock my stitches, and again I'm just going to give it a couple nice stitches, not in place, but within the space of 2 of the stitches. So now that's locked. Now I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to travel my line all the way back up to the top where I'm going to put that lotus. Now on the next episode we're going to be doing some drawing, and I'm actually going to show you how to draw that lotus, and actually a couple different versions. So if you look at our next episode, you'll be able to see the exact order that I do the lotus itself. Slide up, go right up to that corner, and now we're going to go ahead in here and let me draw it real quick so you get an idea. Can you squeeze right in there, Mr. Ritchie? Okay, so right in here I'm actually just going to put a nice teardrop, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to swing up, bump, and I'm going to do a double bump, curve around, swing up, bump, double bump, swing around, and then I'm going to continue moving across, bump, double bump, come down, swing up, bump, double bump, go over. I'm going to travel that ditch, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mirror this side because I want to try to match the same amount of feathers, and there is no trying about it. You match it. Double bump, curve around. Let me see, I did 4. So 1, 2, double bump, slide down, 1, 2, double bump. The reason we're using the double bump is that's going to take me right into the tip so I don't have floppy fabric. And then that's going to take me back, and that's going to give me that nice lotus feather. So Mr. Ritchie, if you could slide over a little bit so we can get a different angle so my arm's not in the way. I'm going to try to do this the best I can. One-handed when I can. Okay. No, I kind of like that. I think what you have there is pretty good. What I am going to do is I'm going to go into my program here, and I am going to put it on cruise mode. And I'm going to take it out because I actually like using the cruise mode when I'm doing freehand work. When I'm using ruler, I like to be on precision or non-cruise, non-coast, non-start speed if you have the Innova machines. Different brands have different things, different names for that mode, and that's something that we're going to talk about tomorrow, or maybe even today when we're doing our drawing. So let me see. I've got that all set up. Let's get out of there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start. Let me double check, make sure that my gears are off, and I'm going to go ahead, and now I am going to teardrop, swing up, bump the top, double bump, scoop around, swing up, back, double bump, curve around. And again, on the next episode, which is going to be, I think, 3B, is that correct, Mr. Ritchie? We're going to be doing some drawing, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do some of these simple feather designs. Now, I'm over here. I have finished that. I'm going to work my way back. I'm going to use my ditch ruler. I'm going to come back, and you know what? I want to go a little more fancy, so I'm going to pop in some veins. You know, I always think of veins and feathers as the little black dress of the feather world. Veins always doctor up feathers and make them look a lot better. Slide in, come back, and you know, because I've thickened that vine a little bit, or that line where I did the ditch work, I can stay right on there. It's almost like perforating a piece of paper. Back, and now I come back, and now I go ahead and I'm going to swing up, bump the top, double bump, come around, swing up and back, backtrack the top, double bump right into that tip so I don't have floppy fabric, come down, swing up, bump the top, come back, double bump, scoop around, swing up, backtrack the top, double bump right down into that tip. Now I'm going to follow that back. I'm going to go ahead, use my ditch ruler, give myself my vein, travel back, vein, travel back, vein, travel back, vein, back, vein, back. Now I could have put those veins in on the way, but I'm so focused on taping, I didn't. So we're going to do it this way. Now I'm back here to the corner. I'm going to lock my stitches. Good to go. Now I'm going to hit my, please dear God, be needle up. And then I'm going to move away. I always grab a hold of my thread, keep it taut. I come back. I do another needle down, needle up, pull away. That pulls up my bobbin thread. I grab a hold of my 2 bobbin threads, grab, snip, I move away. So now we have that design. And on this design, what will happen is, when I finish, as you look at this corner now, perfect, Rich. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some filler in here, and then after I've ditched around these parts of the, if you go a little bit wider, a little more, excellent. I'm going to end up ditching around here, and I'll probably do a nice 3/4 inch echo around here just to kind of pop the dahlia itself. Then all of my filler will go up and around, similar to this. Now, we have this marked, and I want to get rid of those marks before we actually move over, and I'm going to do the other side. And so I'm going to go ahead and use my blue line erase, and I'm going to go right over those lines. And I only use this blue water-soluble marks be gone when I am on anything white. I don't use it for light yellows. I tend to use anything really light that has any color in it. I'm going to go ahead and use my white chalk because I can still see it, even if I have to turn off a side light. Now I'm going to go ahead, and you'll see how quickly this goes away. And this does not migrate back. That's what I love about this stuff. Once I go on there, and it doesn't have to be washed immediately. I'm going to go right over the blue lines. And I'm not using a ton. I'm just using a little bit. Going right on there. Going up. And I'm just like I'm remarking it. But I'm just following that line, and that's going to get rid of that blue line. Magic. Come across. And back. So, again, in the next episode, 3B, we're actually going to take an hour, and we're going to do some drawing at the drawing board. We're going to talk a little bit about feathers. We're going to do a little bit of grid work. We're going to do some blocks. We're going to focus halfway through on doing some block designs and doing a little bit of mix and match, so I can show you how to kind of organize your blocks a little bit. And divide your space so that you can come up with something fairly easy, and then take it to each new level and go up one more level of custom as we do some new designs to add to that. So now, let me see, come up and go down. Mr. Ritchie, is it possible for you to turn off the overhead lights? Because now, with that, you can kind of see the texture a little bit more, and I'll finish taking that blue out shortly, but now you can see all that beautiful texture. And once I get that fill around here, that's going to look beautiful as a wonderful frame around here. And here what I've done is I've gone in 1/2 of an inch on both sides, and I've created a little bit of an area, inner sash inside the green sash, and I'll probably go in and put a vine on the inside of this. This I will end up leaving blank right here, just because I want it to pop with the double batting, and then I'm doing wide piano keys in the border just to kind of keep it a little bit more traditional with the feathers. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. And so that was our first live video of today. And like I said, at 2:30, and that would be Central Time, is that correct? 2:30 Central Time in the States, we will be doing another one. And like I said, that will be an hour of going over a bunch of different designs. I'm going to do a couple different leaves, I'm going to show one or two feathers, but then we're going to take those feathers and we're going to put them in some block designs. And we're actually just going to hang out and draw and have a wonderful time doing that while you are at home, isolating and looking for stuff to do. And again, drawing while you're sitting in front of the TV, no matter what you're watching, is a wonderful way to build your skills. And if you're not a quilter, if you're not a surface quilter, if you're a piecer, this is a great time to just sit and maybe learn how to do some feather work so that you can be a little more versed when you talk to your long arm quilter about what you want. Plus, once you try to do feathers the first few times as a non-surface quilter, it gives you a little bit more of an appreciation for those that actually do the long arm quilting or sit down quilting. So as always, take care of each other, know you're loved, and I will see you shortly.